if you struggle in one area, you're going to struggle in another area. But if you learn how to implement strength within yourself as a human being, as an individual, before the workplace comes into effect, you're going to be a better entrepreneur.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hi, and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. It's Rick Nusky. It's wonderful to be with you. I hope you're doing well no matter where you are in this wide, wonderful world we all live in. Now, on today's show, I'm on the line with Santana Rodriguez. How are you, Santana?
I'm doing great, Rick. Thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. I have 2 feet and a heartbeat, and I can't complain, I have to say. How about yourself?
Exactly.
Yeah, look, I know that you're a producer, you're a TV host, and you're an owner of your business, Shaping Up with Santana, the television series. I'd love to talk a little bit about that. But before we do, Santana, what we normally like to do is get a bit of perspective, bit of an understanding of the person behind the business, in your case, your television show. Would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself with the My Future Business audience?
Oh, sure, not a problem. So basically, I'm living in Los Angeles, California,
Mm-hmm.
originally from Buffalo, New York, in the cold, and I have a sense for loving to be in the warm climate. And I've always been a very creative person. I love putting ideas together and implementing them, creating a strategy, and just basically watching it fly.
Mm-hmm.
That's very important to me because that's part of, I would say, who I am as a person. I love creating, and that's one thing that kind of drove me to Los Angeles. Was when I first came out here, I was pursuing the business of acting. I was an actress for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of plays on stage. I just loved everything about it. It was beautiful to kind of put a project on and then have an influence on the audience, whether you see them laugh or cry. It was just wonderful to have an impact on other people in a positive way.
Yeah, that's wonderful feedback. Now I know that I'm looking at your about page, and you've got some skills behind you there. You've got an associate degree in fashion merchandising, a
Hmm.
bachelor's degree in business marketing, and a fitness training certification as well. Now, have this educational background helped you to form the career that you're currently pursuing?
Oh, it was very critical. Um, the way it all began, I had no idea I would tap in the world of production at all.
Hmm.
I mean, during the time when I was going to school, getting my associate's degree in fashion, I remember at that time my plan was to become a fashion buyer, and I was going to set out for New York City and tap into that fashion market world and either become a buyer for fashion or a buyer for the cosmetic industry. I was very passionate about that. And I remember at that time, when I headed out to New York and I found out, well, there is no housing for that type of schooling and you're on your own. And at that time, I had no money. So that was basically, the driving force of me not heading to New York. And then I went for my 4-year degree in business marketing, and I always wanted to have my own business of some sort
Hmm.
because of that creative background. And then when I graduated from school, I had taken off a year, and I spent the time in Buffalo, New York, kind of just brainstorming and to take a time out to figure out what I truly, really wanted to do in life. And that turned into the entertainment industry. And how those background degrees helped me was, I'm going to fast forward to today. I was acting, and then I got into the fitness world. I started competing in that arena. I took 6 regional titles, a national title, and I said, I want to capitalize off of this at the same time as loving my passion, which many people don't a lot of times end up it's either one or the other. They either
Yes.
have to work to survive, or they pursue a passion that basically makes no money at all. And
Hmm.
it's usually one or the other. I wanted to combine the two, and I wanted to figure out a way as to how I could actually make this work and happen. And I did it by learning everything that I could about production. I started surrounding myself by the people that I could learn from, that could teach me things. But most importantly, the background and fashion and business helped me immensely, because one thing you have to definitely understand how to do in production is you've got to learn how to advertise. You've got to learn how to sell. You have to learn how to pitch people. You need to learn how to be creative and place those pitches together. So all around, taking that experience, and in between I did work for a couple of different corporations,
Hmm.
and I learned as much as I can about selling and advertising, and I implemented those items into my career, which is a must. If you're going to get into production, you're either going to hire a salesperson or do it yourself.
Yeah.
And usually a lot of times in the beginning of the business, you're not going to be able to afford to do that. So you're going to have to cut corners as much as you can. And sometimes you've got to do it all yourself. And that's pretty much how I went about it.
Thank you so very much for sharing these insights. This is what the My Future Business audience really loves, quite frankly. They want to know, the journey behind you, the entrepreneurial journey. They want to know about the struggles. You talked a little bit about early on having no money. I think that's a really good start point for a lot of people, because that's where most of us start,
Mhm.
I suspect, Santana. Would you mind talking to that a little bit more in terms of, I guess, how it affected your mindset and how you navigated those early times when you had little money?
Yeah, I would say the way you get into that mindset is what I call the entrepreneur mindset. If you really are set on, living a lifestyle, not having to work for anybody else or
Hmm.
being micromanaged, then you're going to have to learn those elements of becoming an entrepreneur. And, what's special about that mindset is that the mindset takes you to working harder and smarter. And, many people think owning any kind of business is going to be a lot easier because you're not under someone's wing. And that's absolutely wrong. It's
Mm.
actually quite the opposite. You're
Yep.
going to be spending more time, basically learning, progressing. You're going to have to cut down on things and cut down on your expenses so that you can afford to do things on your own until your business gets going. You're going to have to spend more time, sometimes during your sleep hours. You're up at night, you're on the computer, you're trying to put things together. I mean, there's so much time involved into placing any kind of business, and in order, to be able to succeed at all of that, you've got to have that mindset. Without that mindset, you're not going to go anywhere.
Mm.
And it's kind of
Mm.
challenging because the reality is you have so much time given to you, and you think it's going to be a time to relax and do whatever you want. And that's not the case. It's actually tougher when you have your own time and you're not being, told what you need to be doing, because when you have that free space like that, it's so easy to not want to sit down and, be distracted,
Yes.
right? And not want to do anything, or I'm just not feeling up to it today and I'm tired and I think I'm just going to rest. Well, you've got to be your own boss. You are your own boss, basically. So that mindset has got to go out the window. So really where it should be is the end result. You got to focus on the end result and what you're trying to accomplish, because if you want to make money, if you want to bring in that capital so that you can be independent and not, dependent on anything else, then, what that is basically sitting right in front of you, which is your business. That's your baby. That's up to you to create that and package it and watch it fly and get those results,
Hmm.
basically returned back to you. And you can't do it without an entrepreneur mindset. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, well, there's some gold for everybody on the call today. Now, I wonder, can somebody who's, I guess traditionally an employee working for somebody else, can they transform into a self-starting business owner themselves? Do you think? Or is there like a preset mindset? You have to be an entrepreneur. You have to be born an entrepreneur to become successful in your own
Right.
business.
I would definitely say so. I mean, it's got to be there to begin with, but the interesting thing is how you get there is from your frustrations, your prior frustrations with a job. When you sit back and think about the corporate world, and I'm not downing anyone that's in the
Mm-hmm.
corporate world. If
Of
you
course.
like doing that, then that's wonderful. But for myself, I was in that world, and I just remember I had so much stress. I was in the sales industry.
Mm-hmm.
I basically sold products. I was doing business to business sales and knocking on doors. I had the stress of having a quota that I had to meet by the end of the month. If not, your job was on the line. So when you go through all of that experience and you think to yourself, is this the way I want to live my life, for the rest of my life? And I mean, it makes you think twice about what you're really doing and how you're utilizing your time.
Mm.
And I remember at the time, I was doing so well in the corporate world. And I remember I made top salesperson within a certain month. And what had happened was it was time for, everyone to get raises. It was just, a year had gone by. And when I was called in and told what my salary was going to be, I was stunned because I expected it to be higher
Yeah.
for all the time that I put into it. And I said, I can't accept this
Can't do
and I
this.
just won't. And that's where the frustration came about where, you're either going to spend the rest of your life working for someone or you're going to try to create something of your own and basically make up your own rules as to what you want to do and work for that pay, but you're going to create that pay for yourself. And it's not an easy thing to do. However, it does get you into that mindset when you go through the frustrations of not being happy within yourself because you don't like the place that you have to report to on a daily basis. So that's really what triggered that mindset.
Thank you. The thing that come up for me, Santana, when you were talking about this is your personal value proposition. How much do you value yourself? Is this a matter of now getting up in the
Right.
morning and looking yourself in the mirror and saying, you know
Hmm.
what, I'm worth more than this? What do you say about self talk in these tough times?
I think that's a great part of it. You have to respect yourself and value yourself
Mm-hmm.
and really put I mean the value is what I'm going to say overall. It's everything. The way you look at yourself, you're it's a choice of being happy or unhappy. There's so many scenarios that I can give right now that basically implement unhappy situations, whether it's an unhappy relationship, it's an unhappy marriage, it's an unhappy, place in your life that you really don't want to be in. How do you get out of that? And your self-worth and your self-valuation is so important because when you start to put more precedence on yourself and see where you feel deserving to be,
Mm-hmm.
you have to remove yourself from that situation no matter what. I always say, it's always a tough decision. It's hard to leave a comfortable place. Well, you've got to set yourself in an uncomfortable situation in order to get better, in order to get ahead, in order to become ultimately, genuinely, truly happy. And happiness comes with your career. And if you don't do that, you're going to suffer within. Your job's going to suffer. Your productivity is going to suffer no matter what you do, whether, again, going back to a relationship, whether it goes back to a business. You're not going to put 110% into anything
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
not happy with it.
Absolutely.
So the most important thing is, yes, really, your self-worth is everything, and there's no replacing that. I don't care what the scenario is. It's important that you love yourself, you value yourself, and you're going to put in the work,
Hmm. Yep.
to get those results.
It's not going to happen by itself. And for everybody on the show today, often we talk about, the journey, if you like, Santana, the early days, but also that moment in time where you first recognize, you know what, I'm onto something here. Could you share a little bit about that very first success and how you felt in that moment when you realized you were onto something?
It was the greatest feeling in the entire world. The word that comes to mind is freedom.
Yes.
That's exactly what I felt when I finally figured. See, life is very, very interesting in how it works, because life, you're going to do so many different things throughout that duration. And believe it or not, the pieces of the puzzle come together at some point in your life. And you're not really going to recognize that as you are going through the journey until you get further advanced into your life, where you look back and you say, wow, I did this, but that had no affiliation with something else that I did. And you can keep going on that.
Hmm.
But somehow or another, they will come together, I promise. So for myself, individually speaking, my years in college, for example, um, I went for fashion, and you can look back and say, well, what does having a show have anything to do with fashion? Well, I did create my own fashion line, um, based on the show. So it
Hmm.
was called
Hmm.
Shaping Up with Santana Exercise Show. Wow, I know everything there is about merchandising fashion. And so why don't I implement that and create a fashion line for my TV show? People like to exercise, people like to work out. Why don't I create a line based around that? So that kind of came together. The marketing, the advertising came along because I didn't have to hire someone to do those things. One thing with a television show is that without advertising, a show's not going to survive.
No.
So I had to seek out advertising, and I knew how to do that. I knew how to pitch people. I knew how to make those calls and close deals. So I had to do it on my own. And so you're going to have to do certain things on your own, before, you can actually have someone that you can hire. Until you have capital coming into your business, you're not going to, put your eggs all into one basket and disperse your money right away, because you can't do that. I know a lot of people, for example, that, because they want clout, they want an office right away. I can't tell you how many people want an office.
Yeah.
Forget the office, the home is your office.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
any of you out there, like literally wishing for an office right now, you know what, let's look at the plus side of all of this. You are home. You can, you can carry your business from home. So that's important.
Hmm.
But again, in answer to your question, yes, the breaking point was, it was freedom. That's how I felt when I figured it all out, and I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew how it all came together, and I had all the tools, you know, within myself to be able to push it out myself. And that's what gives you the confidence and the drive to keep going and moving forward, is when you feel that you have the ability to push it out on your own. And that was freedom to me.
Yeah.
I said, you know what? I've learned everything these businesses are doing. I can, take that experience, learn everything that I have learned, and implement into exactly what I'm doing today. And that was just freedom. And there's no better way to describe
No
it.
better feeling. No better
Yeah, it
feeling.
was a phenomenal feeling.
I
Yeah.
I can see now, if we look back a little bit in today's call, which is absolutely fantastic, might I add, how the
Thank you.
foundational building blocks of your education is important. So there's a takeaway for everybody's on the show, and how you've
Right.
used your knowledge and how you're observing those around you and rewarding yourself and recognizing and just taking a moment to feel that freedom and say, hey, this is really what I want. It would almost be addictive, wouldn't it?
Right. It's a great feeling. And that's why I always, encourage anybody out there that's really wanting to start a business, don't just look at the 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 business aspect of it.
Hmm.
Really put some time and work into yourself, meaning start reading some self-help books, or there's nothing wrong with going to a therapist. And I don't mean talking to her or him about business.
Hmm.
I mean talking about your inner weaknesses. What is it that, holds you back in life from achieving those dreams that you want? Let's talk about childhood things. What is it about your childhood? Did someone not push you or encourage you, or did somebody down you along the way and make you believe that you can't do it on your own? Those things are very important to address. You've got to go back. It's like you want to uncover every area that there is, because the problem that I see is that if you struggle in one area, you're going to struggle in another area.
Hmm.
But if you learn how to implement strength within yourself as a human being, as an individual, before the workplace comes into effect, you're going to be a better entrepreneur, just because you have that insight about yourself, and you want to know yourself. You want to know the person that you are before you start dealing with people. What if you're someone that can't handle rejection, or what if you're someone that can't handle people, basically, there's so many different
Yeah.
personalities out
Yeah.
there. Some are going to be more difficult than others to handle. So maybe take a communication class, or learn communication and how to become patient, because you're going to need all of those elements when dealing with people in any kind of business. So I think that's a very important criteria to have for yourself in order to become successful.
Yeah, that's great feedback. I know we've talked a lot about psychology, and but I'd like to learn a little bit more about your perspective on when you're going through this personal development journey. How important is your daily routine and looking after your body?
Oh, that's everything. I mean, that's discipline.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, the daily routine is everything. So, one thing I highly advise any of you out there is to write things down. You've got to do it. You
Hmm.
know, One thing I never forgot in the corporate world that was told to me by my account manager, and he said, you have 24 hours in a day. What are you doing within those 24 hours? Okay, let's take sleep time, and you take 6 to 8 hours out of that. What are you doing with the remainder of your time? The only way you're going to see that is when you literally write it on paper. I mean, take a calendar with all the times on there, right, from morning to evening,
Hmm.
and write exactly what you're doing within that entire day. And you're going to see how much empty space, believe it or not, you're going to have when you actually see it for yourself with your own eyes. Because I didn't think that when I first began all this. And I said, no, I'm so busy. It's impossible. There's no way I have time, to do these extras. But believe it or not, when you see it, you really do. So the daily routine starts out for me writing everything down. Writing down. So I have two separate columns.
Hmm.
Okay, my one column is going to incorporate my goals for the entire week. And then the other one is what I do on a daily basis. So by the end of the week, I should have met all those goals that I've had on that paper. And so the daily routine starts out, pretty much being disciplined and dedicated to what you write down. And it becomes so much easier when you do that. Because if you don't do that, there's too much time and too many distractions throughout a day where we can lose sight of really what we're focused on.
Absolutely.
So that's very important that that be done. So I highly recommend writing everything down. And I'll tell you guys, it's like 50%, you're going to accomplish 50% more of what you do on a normal basis when you write things down. I promise you, it's going to make such a difference.
Thank you so very much, Neil. Uh, if you're not getting some value out of this call, I don't know what sort of call you're looking for, because this is absolutely wonderful. Santana, it's wonderful that you're so open and willing to share this stuff with us. I really appreciate it. Now, I think now we should be shifting gears a little bit and talking about your business, Shaping Up with Santana. What is
Right.
this all about? And when people want to learn more about it, where are they going to find you?
Wonderful. Okay, so yes, it's the show's called Shaping Up with Santana, and it's exactly as the title says. You're going
Mm-hmm.
to be working out and doing exercise with me in real time while the show is airing. So the first part of the show is basically focused on doing movements. And the show, very important, is for beginners, it's for advanced people. It's for anyone that is interested in implementing some form of exercise.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a technical show. I don't care if you can't dance. I don't care
That's
if
me.
you're a klutz or you can't stay balanced. Anybody can do these steps and these exercises because they're
Mm-hmm.
very I mean, I'm not saying they're easy because I can do it. Anybody can do these, I promise. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
be that simple. And even if you can't catch on, my main goal is for everybody to move, to burn calories, to get that heart rate going. And, I demonstrate high impact and low impact type exercises that you can do if you can't follow along. It's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody has the ability to do it. But the most important thing is that, I want people that don't have time to get to a gym, which we don't have that problem anymore with everything going on,
Of course,
obviously.
yes.
Yeah, so, but the initial reason was for people to save time and money from going to the gym. When you factor in, and speaking about writing things down, you actually lose about 2 hours a day by going to the gym. So you
Wow.
got to drive there.
Yep, yep.
You've got to get into your workout outfits. You've got to,
Shift your mindset, get into it.
e- exactly, and then shower afterwards, whether you shower at home or whether you shower at the gym. You got to do that. Then you're hungry and you want to eat. I mean, you're talking easily 2 hours, maybe more out of the
Mm-hmm.
day. Drive time you got to factor in. So it's so easy for anybody out there to say, well, just make time for it. But I have children, this person says. Well, just make time for it. But I have a full day, full-time job, and I've got to go feed the children. The reality is people can't do it. You're exhausted,
Mm-hmm.
So what I thought about doing was, okay, let me bring the show together, and I'll bring it to you. I'll bring it to your living rooms. All you have to do, you choose the time as to whether you want to watch it in the morning or in the evening, but do the exercises with me, because at least you're doing something and incorporating something that's going to benefit your health. So the great news is our show is on Roku live as of this last week.
Mm-hmm.
Roku carries over 14 million subscribers. And then we have the show on Amazon Fire, which carries another, right, 20,000 subscribers. We're going to be on Apple TV in less than 2 weeks. And then we're also going to have an app on Android and also iPhone as well. So the show's going to be everywhere.
Yep,
And
yep.
this couldn't have happened, honestly. I mean, not the coronavirus. I
Mm-hmm.
just want to be clear. I mean, there's nothing grateful about that at all. And it's unfortunate that that occurred.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's unfortunate that, we don't have gyms to go to anymore. You cannot train at your fitness centers, at your condo or apartment complex if you have that. So what do? You watch Shaping Up with Santana. As long as you have a Roku player and as long as you have a Fire Stick on Amazon, anybody across the world can watch this TV show because it is airing. And the best part is it's streaming 24/7. It doesn't matter what time you turn on that tube. You're going to see it all day, all night, whenever it's convenient for you.
Yeah.
So it's very, very exciting that this is going on during such a sad period. But, the good news, I got to tell you, I mean, who knew that this was all going to happen?
Oh, no
My
one.
show, yeah, my show was planned, I mean, to air March 15th. Little did I know that I was walking into something like this, but at the same time, you know, maybe that's my purpose in life. I believe everybody has a purpose in life, and, you know, my purpose, the timing, I believe timing is everything, happened in such a perfect way
Hmm.
that I couldn't even, you know, sometimes I can't even understand it, but I'm
No,
grateful
look, yeah,
that I'm able to provide that to all of you at such a you know, important time, and as you know, a sad time where I think everybody could use exercise in their life.
yes,
And one thing I
absolutely.
do want to push out there is that with exercise, you know, exercise is magical. It can really help anybody with depression. I always call it the medicine for depression or anxiety. It eases stress. It changes your mindset. You cannot be, you know, unfortunately, the circumstances are as such. We can't change it whether we like it or not. There are many people, many states quarantined right now.
Hmm.
And what's going to happen? I'm a little nervous about it because I know what happens when you don't have access, you know, to these, you know, to these things around you like fitness,
Hmm.
and you're confined in one environment. You're either, you know, many people are going to get depressed. Many people are going to have that anxiety. Many people are going to think suicidal thoughts.
Hmm.
You know, there's a lot of money lost, a lot of businesses that are being lost during this horrific time. And you got to find a way to pull yourself together and not fall into it. You're going to have a lot of people become alcoholics. You're going to have people become drug addicts because they're depressed. And so it's important to have exercise, everyone. You can't just, you know, you can't have it not be a part of your life. And that's where I am here to help all of you and to bring it all together. And I want you to, you know, keep the hope up and stay positive and surround yourself with people that are, you know, speaking positive. Don't spend too much time watching the news, please. Sometimes it can be a downer, and I mean, for me it is. I can't speak for anybody else, but
Hmm.
very, very important that you implement exercise. It just does wonders. It's magical.
This is some sage advice. We are in tough times. This is about adaptation. This is about being there for each other. This is about, you know, focusing on what's important right now. It's our health, it's our society, it's our mindset. And with all of these things being said, Santana, thank you so very much for sharing everything that you've done
You're
today.
welcome. I thank you very much, Rick, for having me. And also, you feel free to email me, or if you need some positive insight, email me at info, at shapingupwithsantana.com.
I will absolutely make sure to talk with you after the call, Santana, because I think it's very important that everybody touches base with you. And again, thanks for spending some time with me on the show today.
No, I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.